the Daniel Nahmod video was brand new. It has to do with the current situation with the virus and with all that's going on in the world. And what I was excited about with that, and what I was planning to spin off of with this talk, is there's been a huge adjustment to our. So what's happening is in the current world, you know, for a number of years now, superheroes have been the thing. Every other movie, all this stuff, most of them made right here in Atlanta, about superheroes and what they can do in their superpowers, and there's almost no workshop situation anymore that you don't go to where you don't get invited to talk about your superpower, or to get in touch with your superpower, or to share it. We divide groups up at teen camp and for special events based on your perceived superpower. And what I loved about the Daniel video that you'll see someday, if you look up Daniel on the web, or on YouTube, is the idea that the superpowers and what we think of superpowers have changed, that the heroes have changed, superheroes, that instead of being those that can, you know, leap buildings in a single bound, or have that Superman kind of quality, they are the folks who are taking care of getting food to us. They're the folks who are taking care of our people who are in the hospital and who are ill. They're the folks who are doing the day-to-day stuff of keeping our country working and keeping us supplied with all that we need and all that is part of our lives. And that's been an interesting shift that's a result of this current life and current situation. Which leads me to further look at, you know, the whole point of today's talk is the idea of discovering and really connecting with your life purpose, my life purpose. We all do that. And that's not a once for all thing. That's for most of us, that's a regular thing that happens, and then it happens, and then it happens. We don't have the option always of, you know, this is it and this is it forever. I know that as my life has grown and changed, my purpose, my purposes have shifted based on my age, based on what was happening in my life. We often have crises that come up that may shift how we think of our purpose. And the purpose, I'm drawing a lot today from the book, The Big Leap, by Gay Hendricks. It's a wonderful book. It's not brand new, but it's been out for a while, but it's still kind of a standard on this topic. I love it because it's the big leap, and it shows on the front cover, there's a fish bowl and a fish jumping completely out of the water. Because often the big leap into your genius, into your purpose, feels like that, like you've jumped right out of your environment, right out of the place that you know and feel and express. And in that book, at one point, Hendricks says that finding your purpose is not necessarily about finding just those big things that you do, the job, the whatever, but it's also about getting clear about what your gifts are and finding the way to express those. That's where the real purpose lies. There's an ancient idea of Dharma that comes out of Hinduism and the early Vedas and the early yogic teachings. And in that particular version, or that particular teaching, the Dharma is acknowledging and recognizing the way in which spirit, life, energy is moving through you, and that in becoming clear about that and getting in sync with it, we're able then to find our place, to find our world, to find our way, and to make our choices and decisions based on that. And those decisions and choices may not match the larger social approach or the larger social idea of who we should be, but it needs to perfectly match that movement of spirit within us, that movement of life within us as it's being expressed. And that's the Dharma, that's defining it. And it's what Gay Hendricks describes as your zone of genius. It's that tapping into the movement of life within you in a way that allows you then to more easily and freely express who you are. See, and that something is inside of each of us, and it's pressing towards fuller expression. And we can express it in lots of ways. I don't know about you, but some of those things which I know have had the most passion about and most excitement about have also been the things I've been most afraid of. Leaving a job with the state of Georgia where my payroll and my payment was secured and absolute and came in the same way every month, whether I did a bad job or a good job on what I was doing, as long as I stayed within a certain range of competence. Moving from that into private practice and doing counseling and spiritual work with people. That was a huge leap out of the bowl. And it was motivated by the desire to reach beyond the limits of what I felt like I was experiencing in that moment, in that point. And boy, I jumped out of the bowl, and I jumped out of the bowl with a great deal of excitement and also a great deal of fear. Everyone said you can't go into private practice if you don't have enough money put away to handle your business expenses and take care of your personal expenses for at least a year. I had about 3 months. And I went, well, that's okay, because the pressure within me to become more of what I needed to be at that moment or wanted to be at that moment was greater. And I figured, and I knew enough about this teaching by that point to know that spirit responds, that life responds to us when we follow that bliss, when we follow that desire that's bubbling up inside of us. And that's where I went. That's what I did. I took off after it. I jumped out on my own into my own practice. I had no office. I rented an office space by the hour. I did all those things. And then someone knocked on my door at a meeting one night and said, you know, I love the work I see you doing. I'd like to support you in creating, in developing your practice. May I do that? And I don't want anything back from you. You don't have to pay me money. I just want a place to refer people that I can feel good and comfortable about, because I work with a lot of folks myself. Within a month, I had a full practice. And that full practice continued on as long as I was here in Atlanta until I left in 1995 to go be a Science of Mind minister down in Tampa. That's just an example of what happens when you follow that pressure, that push, that desire for whatever it is you're being called to. And it may be fraught with some fear and some trembling and some resistance, which I certainly had my share of and have had over the years when other changes came. But I want to tell you that it's the gratification and the sense of fulfilling my purpose has made up for all of those other things. When we get into that idea of expression, Gay Hendricks says that there are several zones of expression. One of those is incompetence. We can express who we are very incompetently by choosing to do activities that we're not good at. I remember once talking to another minister about some things we were trying to do in our centers. This was not here, but in another place. And we suddenly realized we were both talking about how to get better at things we didn't want to do to begin with. And I thought that was kind of humorous. And I thought that was kind of silly. So instead, then, we each decided to hire people to do what we don't really want to do anyway. And we did. And then we put our focus on becoming more competent at those things we love to do and we love to be, that we feel is our expression to bring forward. There's also the zone of competence. These are activities we know we're good at. And others can do them as well, but we know that we can. And then there's that zone of excellence where we get into excellence, where we know what we're doing is the best. And it's the best for us. And we live in that place. And that can become has what is called the glass ceiling. It's a point where we've worked in excellence for a long time and we feel comfortable with it. And we always do the same thing because we know it works. And we live in that space. And that's true whether you're talking about your job, you're talking about your family, you're talking about relationships, all of that. But at some point, you may become aware, you may not, but you may become aware that that zone is no longer really bringing you joy or satisfying you. It may be working, providing the income, providing the lifestyle, providing this or that, but you may find yourself feeling a little bored or feeling a little trapped. What do they call those? The golden handcuffs? And that's when there's a pull inside of us to jump into our zone of genius. That's when we have the opportunity to look at and move forward and think about what is next. And we get called to make the big leap. Now, one of the things I want to say about this whole thing of finding your genius and where your genius lies and your real purpose in life, or your deeper, bigger purpose in life. You know, it may not be about your job or what you do to create a living or to create income or to participate in income. It may be about becoming the most loving, interrelated person you know how to be. It may be about being called to be a caretaker for children, for your own children or others. It may be a feeling inside of really wanting to just do something good for other people. And not only do, but to be something good, that's something people want to participate in and be accepted to and be part of. Your life, your experiences, your expression. And your zone of genius may not even feel like something you have to do. It may feel like play or something you want to do. Musicians who are really gifted in what they do often talk about that. This isn't work. This is joy. This is something I find such fun in and such great goodness in. I experience it here with being able to do these talks and being able to teach classes and bring forward ideas that have the possibility and the potential for setting people free to their own greater good and their own greater expression and their own greater reality of living in a bigger, better, more fulfilling life. That's not work. That's plain old fun. And it's especially fun when somebody gets it, when we're having a conversation in a class or someone just read something and they go, oh dear. And you see you don't see the goosebumps, but you know they're happening. And they go, oh my goodness. Yes, this is it. I mean, that's one of the most satisfying moments of my week or my times. And it isn't because of an achievement sort of idea. It's because I know I got to use my gifts in the greatest way possible. I got to bring my gifts forward in a way that might not ever have been there otherwise, had I not paid attention to what drives, what guides, where I'm led toward from the inside to take that leap. I took that leap when I moved to the home office and took on a much bigger role in the world, in the world of science of mind, in the world of CSL. I took that leap when I left that, again, kind of comfortable, know I had the paycheck every month, to here, where I also knew I had the paycheck every month, but I knew it not because it was guaranteed, but because it's guaranteed in my consciousness. I know being here, part of this community, was my big leap 2 years ago, and it continues to be me swimming in the right water, the bigger pond, the bigger fish, the bigger place. So how do you get to that zone of genius? How do you know? What kinds of questions can help you get to that place and live in that place? Probably the most important and first one is, what do you love? What do you love to do? What do you love to think about? Where do you love to spend your time? That if it doesn't feel like work, and that when you're doing that and participating in it, time stretches and stretches way beyond anything that's logical or reasonable. You don't get tired doing it. Your heart's just in joy and having fun. You know, one of those places for me is teen camp, hanging out with the teens for a week. Oh my God, I come back from it fired up. Even though it can be the most grueling, tiresome, exhausting, hard week of life. it's still rich and wonderful because it's within my zone of genius and my gifts that I want to bring to the world. My zone of genius is the opportunity and place to use my gifts for my greater good and the greater good of everyone else. Another thing in relationship to work is choosing what is that work that doesn't seem like work, that part of your job that doesn't seem like work, but just seems like fun. I often tell the story of my friend back when I was in practitioner training, who was one of my first clients. And he said, I just want to cook. I just want to make really wonderful dishes and find food that's healthy and that will really support people in their growth. And I don't want to cook the same thing over and over. And I don't want to be caught up in the business of running a restaurant or any of that. There has to be a way for me just to do what I love because I enjoy it. And one day, as he was working at his job at the restaurant, a family asked to speak to the chef because their lunch had been over the top as far as they were concerned. And they invited him to join them and become their private chef. They had homes all over the world. So he found great prosperity. As he put it, he always wanted to be chauffeur driven and live all over the world. And he got to be chauffeur driven to the grocery store every day to buy the right food to prepare for this family. And he got to live in beautiful locations all over the place. So when we follow that urge, that dream, that passion, the universe says yes. It says yes, 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 and more yes. We just have to be open and watching for and trusting that it's going to come to us. Another question is, what's your unique ability? Is there some special skill or some way that you put things together in your life that can be a gift to other people that brings you great joy in the process? I used to say I'd love to have a job where I could read books and talk about it. Well, here I am. I mean, part of the joy of that for me is not just reading books, but taking a lot of different disparate ideas and putting them together into some uniform pattern. I have a real gift for seeing patterns in different modes of thought, patterns in psychology and spirituality and other disciplines where I love to explore them. I've had a lot of fun exploring various spiritual paths because those paths have such a similarity, especially if you understand them through the window of there's one power. It responds to us according to our belief. So if groups of people believe in a certain way, it responds to that in a positive way, and they can have amazing, wonderful experiences. And I see those patterns throughout all of the religious and spiritual practices, from paganism to Native American spirituality right on through to modern Christianity and ancient Hinduism, you name it. I love looking at all that and exploring it. That brings me joy. I'm happy to teach classes on that because I get to talk about it and dig more into my own stuff. So it's a rich and wonderful experience to do that. The affirmation that Gay Hendricks suggests to give you that magical bullet. Everybody's looking for magic, right? The magic bullet to step into your true purpose and live it and find it. That simply by affirming it again and again. We know affirmations are very powerful. We know that when we affirm something and we believe in it, everything in the universe starts to line up and fall into place to help bring it forward and make it happen. Here's the secret bullet, he calls it, or the magic bullet. I expand in abundance, success, and love every day. And as I do, I inspire those around me to do the same. I expand in abundance, success, and love, and inspire those around me to do the same. that affirmation and that willingness to look at, what do you really love? What are you really successful at in your heart of hearts, that you know if you just didn't have this excuse or this limit or that limit on the outside, you would be successful at it. And where's the abundance in it? Because the abundance always follows a good idea. Abundance always follows a giving of value to the world. It is rich, it is powerful, it is wonderful. So there's a divine urge within each of us, a sacred calling. It beckons you with increasingly strong calls as you go through your life. Commit to uncovering that zone of genius. Commit to taking the leap out of your comfort zone. We've all kind of done that in the last 3 months. But take the leap to jump out of it according to your idea of where the next big splash should be. And moving then fully into your genius zone. So I invite you to join me for a few moments of meditation and silence. The power and goodness of life that is flowing through all of us, that Doug so beautifully talked about, is present. We don't have to do anything to make it happen. We don't have to be anything other than what we already are to bring it about. And knowing that, I'm going to invite you to take a few moments to just be quiet, to just move into that quiet space where your heart and your focus can go deep. Where with a couple of breaths in, you begin to pay attention. Paying attention to how your breath feels, what it's like as you express it. How it feels coming in, going out. With each breath, recognizing that that is not only air that you're breathing in and physical breath, but it's an awareness that God itself, Spirit itself, life itself is breathing you. Try to stop it. You can only hold your breath for so long before it breaks loose. Spirit breathes us. It beats our hearts. It moves through our bodies and taking care of all of our systems for go. Give yourself a moment or two just to be aware of that, to think about that. Life unfolding. Now follow your breath down into your heart, past your throat, your lungs, and down into that area where your lungs are completely surrounding your heart. So as you breathe in and breathe out, we're aware that our attention can follow that breath right down to the heart. And in that heart space, imagine with me that heart, that center of us, knows that something in me that always knows the answers, always knows what life is for me, is my heart. My conscious heart, the center of it all. The place within me from which everything flows and returns to with greater clarity and truth. So I ask my heart, what do I love? might be big things, it might be small things. Spirit knows no difference between large and small, only what is. Ask your heart, what are my gifts? What do I uniquely have to give? Perhaps the way I put things together, or the way I have a particular passion for something. What are my gifts? When I think of my work, whether it's a job work or other work, work at home, work in my world, what parts of that don't feel like work, but feel like play, feel like joyful expression? Now I invite you to trust the answers you've felt or heard. Trust that life is providing you with all that you need and all that it needs for you to express more perfectly and fully your life's work. So I accept that this is what is spoken to me. It is the truth from within me, so I trust it to be the truth for me. For to any question I have, I know there is that within me that knows. And I quietly listen, and I trust, and I take action as I am guided from this time and this moment to make my choice of my next right action, whatever that is and however it flows for me. I know that there's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. And as I accept that, I let this be my truth for this day. I let it be so, and so it is. I've always
Thank you, Rev.
Thank you. Go right ahead, David. David is one of our board members, and he is going to speak to you about contributions and prosperity. Thank you.
And first, I want to just thank you, Rev, for that moment of stillness and clarity and awareness of a greater expression of life.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Gibbs, and as Rev said, I am a member of your board of trustees. And while we are meeting online, and as always, we invite you to step into the powerful expression of universal principles reflected in the act of giving and receiving, and the experience of a more abundant, successful, and loving you. And this is done through contributions that may be made on the links on our CSL Midtown website, or through PayPal as always, or as well by sending a check to CSL Midtown, P.O. Box 14303, Atlanta, Georgia 30324. All of which is now posted in the chat for you to take note of. You can cut and paste it to a place for safekeeping. Your generous contributions help us expand our reach to a wider audience and expand a group of people bringing this message of peace, freedom, and health in this time of increased opportunity to grow, to love, to learn, to express the divine attributes of life, as well as an opportunity to give. And we thank you all who give so freely of your time, talent, and treasure. And I ask you now to please join me. Hopefully, you may recall we don't have a visual for you today, but certainly repeat after me if need be as we affirm our prosperity. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is.
So it is.
Thank you, Rev.
Oh, yes.
I heard you. I can hear you joining me.
Good.
All right. A few announcements for this upcoming week. Again, we thank you for joining us here, and here's what's coming up. On Tuesdays, we have our booster shot of spiritual empowerment, both on Tuesdays at noon as well as Thursdays at 6 p.m. You can use the exact same link that you signed on to join this call. It's active on each of those days, and it's an opportunity for you to kind of balance out your week, with additional enlightenment and moments of stillness and clarity. We also want to announce that we are set up with a new contribution system. The center is changing its donation system from Fellowship One, which we've used for a number of years, to ACS Realm, R-E-A-L-M, Realm. Realm is more customer friendly and less costly to the center. You can, as always, give by credit card. You can also give by sending a text or an ACH bank transfer. Whether it's a one-time gift, a regularly scheduled gift, or something in between, there's a way for everyone to contribute through this system. As always, you can always continue to make contributions through PayPal or mailing a check to the center at the address provided earlier. Those options are still available. And those who have a regularly scheduled contribution in the Fellowship One will automatically be converted to donating through Realm. If you're one of those people, you should receive an email from Reverend Bob Deen on Friday telling you how. Check your email and let us know if you did not receive it. We invite everyone to consider setting up a committed giving donation, of course. Please contact Michael Wagner at mrwagner@msn.com for instructions. Michael can also set up an automatic payment for you. All donations and proceeds through Donate Now button on the website or in the newsletter will go through Realm. And at this moment, I'd like to recognize all the practitioners who I invite and encourage to submit their contact information through the chat at this moment. We want to thank and appreciate our practitioners. They are a very powerful source of support and guidance for anyone who needs it and chooses to have that. And again, in our indigenous wisdom, we need not wait until we find ourselves in moments of suffering to seek wholeness and completion. As Rev alluded to in his message earlier today, there's wisdom in everything. There's medicine in everything, in all experiences, if we choose to see so. And our practitioners are a wonderful source of wisdom and medicine, as our native friends like to remind us. Also, I want to thank you to our board of trustees. There are several of us on the call here today, and they cannot wave to you right now, or you can't see them if they did wave. However, they're there, and we are active and engaged in many forms of figure out the best ways to support you in this collective spiritual consciousness and journey. And there are also a number of volunteers who still continue to make this Sunday service happen and the many activities that are a part of it. You know, there are greeters, there are those who collect the Sunday offering when we're in person, and a number of individuals who coordinate the technology and so forth that help us to deliver this wonderful message every week. And so we want to thank them and invite you to find a place to fit in and get in where you fit in. And so we welcome you and your service, and we are a very rich medium for the opportunity to give. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Reverend Bob.
Wow. Thank you, David. Nicely done. I appreciate all of the support we get on this call. I put a note in the chat that I appreciate how many of you have stayed with us through this rather challenging morning, trusting that by Tuesday, the Zoom will have their issues straightened out and we will be back up and running. However, we'll meet in whatever way we can on Tuesday. So looking forward to it. Again, thank you. It was a great morning for me. Opportunity to say what I believe in another time. So if you will, hear me or join me if you have it, if you remember it, as we declare our closing affirmation of life. That is this: I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth into the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding. I am grateful for the spirit of life that lives through me. And so it is.